Today's video is sponsored by Binge Party TCG. They've got a Gear 5 Luffy binder coming out on September 5th, and oh my god, this thing is beautiful. The purple lining with the white pages looks absolutely amazing in my opinion, and I really like the zipper on it to make sure my cards are being stored in the absolute best condition possible. The quality on this is amazing. Check the link in my description to sign up for text or email alerts because you're not going to want to miss the release of this binder.
Ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another Johnny TCG video. I'm Johnny TCG. I'm excited to see you here today. Today we're taking a look at Blue Purple Luffy, OP11 Luffy, a leader that has recently been hit with some specific bans that has definitely made him a little weaker. Maybe not too much weaker because there are still a lot of ways to build him and he is still just a really good leader in terms of his leader ability, but undoubtedly he was just too strong, so they had to nerf him a little bit by banning Charlotte Katakuri and Charlotte Linen from being played in the deck. With that being said, now is the time to test different types of builds with this leader. Of course, there's the Don Quixote do Flamingo package with Rosinante as well. That's a really strong package, don't get me wrong. There's another popular package that utilizes the 9-cost Dracula Mihawk from OP01 as well. That's a good package, of course. Today I wanted to try something I didn't really see anywhere online. There might be a reason that I didn't see it anywhere online, and that is trying out the 7-cost Luffytaro into Sangoro or Zoro package. Luffytaro was typically a staple in purple Luffy decks, and he hasn't really been played in blue purple Luffy or red purple Luffy. I wanted to give him a shot though. I do think he has strong potential, especially when you combine him with the 9-cost Sanji. My thoughts with this deck was simply that 9-cost Sanji and a 7-cost Luffytaro into 5-cost Sangoro would be really strong, and then of course just really fun as well. I think that's an epic turn, so I wanted to give it a shot. I haven't seen other people really try this out, so why not me? Now, one thing needs to be said is I don't think this is my best deck list I've ever made. Honestly, this list is pretty janky. I just wanted to test out that main combo and go from there. So this is a good starting off point for yourself. Maybe it gives you some ideas and then you can work with the deck list a little bit. I would love to hear your thoughts in the comments down below for cards that you're going to add for your own build, or maybe even other packages you're going to run in this deck. Because like for the most part this deck runs like any other blue purple Luffy deck, I'm not going to do a deep deck profile. The only change I really made was the Luffytaro package. Luffytaro, 7-cost, 8,000 power, Don -1, play up to 1 purple Straw Hat Crew type character with a cost of 5 or less from your hand. That of course we're mainly going for Sangoro, the 5-cost, 6,000 power character, 1k of counter, that has the ability of when attacking, if you have 8 or more Don cards, draw 1 card. That's absolutely epic. This is probably the best card to play off of Luffytaro. We do have the 4-cost Zoro as well. That lets you do a top 5 search for a Straw Hat Crew type card and add it to your hand. Unfortunately, since that Luffytaro restricts you to only purple, you can't play out the Nami from OP11, which I wish you could because that would definitely be a solid choice as well. Because of all the counter events I'm running in this deck, I really thought I could get away with just 8 2k counters, and that is not the case, folks. I definitely feel like I needed more 2ks in this deck, so be warned, it's not a perfect deck. It definitely needs more work, but I just wanted to share the idea with you all and hear your thoughts on it. Before we get into the gameplay, I do have a custom giveaway for you. If you're new to the channel, we do custom giveaways in just about every single video. Today, we're going to be giving away a custom Roger Don card using art from the One Piece Treasure Cruise game. I'm not the artist. I'm not selling this. This is just a fun personal fan project of mine. All you have to do to enter this giveaway is 1, leave a like, and 2, leave a comment. It's as simple as that. Then, if this video gets 15 likes in the first 24 hours, I will randomly choose 1 US-based commenter and send it to you completely free. That's all you have to do, folks, is 1, leave a like, and 2, leave a comment. Check out the hollow shatter effect on that Don card. That looks absolutely epic if I say so myself. If you like the content, if you want to stay up to date with videos, consider hitting that subscribe button down below. It's free, it's easy. We're almost at 3,500 subscribers, which is pretty crazy. I never thought I'd make it this far. So if you want to help grow to 3,500, hit that subscribe button, and yeah, with that being said, editor, roll the gameplay.
Our first game is going to be against an OP09 Shanks, a leader that has seen a resurgence recently because he's actually been doing pretty well in the OP12 meta. I am going to mulligan this first hand, but I definitely think that was a mistake. I should have kept that one. I had the 3 Don ramp card, so that's definitely a bad choice on my part. I was looking maybe for another card to go with the 7-cost Luffytaro. Sangoro would be great. I think Luffytaro is going to be pretty good in this matchup, but alas, we mulligan and this next hand isn't really that good. We do have the 2-cost Thunder Bagua, which will help us ramp. We have the 4-cost Bon Clay, but since we're on the odd curve, we can't play down Bon Clay until our 3rd turn, which isn't ideal. They're going to start off with an Uta Searcher and find the Ben Beckman and then pass it back to us. 3 Don for us to work with. This is actually solid. We top decked the Zoro, so hopefully he'll be able to help us ramp. We're going to start off with a 6,000 power swing from our leader into their life. They do have 1 Don up, but I can't imagine they would use a counter event here. They're going to 2k counter out of that first swing, and then we'll play down the Zoro and pass it back to them. 4 Don for them to work with. They're going to have the Hongo, which could definitely be annoying later on in the game. Then for 1 Don, they'll play down the Uta Searcher and draw OP06 pop Shanks, passing it back to us. They couldn't swing into us. I'm going to be able to double ramp this turn, which is pretty sweet. I'm going to be able to swing 5,000 with Zoro and then drop the 4-cost Bon Clay to ramp a Don as active as well. We'll start off with the 5,000 power swing. They'll just use leader ability right there. Then I'm debating on what exactly to do with Don. I have 2 Don up, which could be for a Thunder Bagua, but I won't get the Thunder Bagua's effect of ramping a Don because I'm still at 3 life and you need to be at 2. I still may leave the 2 Don up just to be safe. I am a little bit worried about the lack of counter in our hand. We'll swing 6,000. They'll give us a 2k counter and then we'll pass it back to them. Maybe we use the Thunder Bagua to keep the Zoro alive. That could be pretty interesting. They're going to start off by playing down another Hongo, then giving 3 Don to their leader, swing 8,000 into the Zoro. Should I keep the Zoro alive? That would be pretty bold of me. I'm not going to do it. I'm just going to let the Zoro go. RIP Zoro, at least you got us that 1 ramp. We're going to start off our turn by swinging 6,000 with our leader. They'll use leader ability to minus the power of Bon Clay. I wasn't going to swing with Bon Clay anyways, so that is perfectly fine. Then we do top deck the Sangoro, which allows us to do the Luffytaro combo, which is great. This is going to be a tough turn for them to deal with our bodies. Even if they have a Rayleigh, they're only going to be able to get rid of 1 of our bodies, which is huge. They're going to start by using Hongo, resting Hongo to give minus 2,000 to a Luffytaro. They're going to play down Rayleigh, which I expected, pop the Luffytaro. They gave minus 2,000 power to our Sangoro. There is an argument to be made. Maybe they should have popped my Bon Clay. I don't know. It doesn't really matter, folks. They were able to clear a big body. They still weren't able to swing into me. Now we can start using leader ability. I'm going to take another Sangoro. So this turn, I'm going to be able to go 7-cost Luffytaro into a 5-cost Sangoro again, which is great. I'm going to be able to draw a card off of our Sangoro. We're going to swing with Sangoro into potentially the Hongo. I do think I should clear it. I'm going to give the Sangoro a Don, so it's a clean 5,000 to 3,000. They will use leader ability and then give 2k to protect the Hongo. I think I disagree with this because the Hongo is going to end up dying anyway. We're going to be able to clear it with our leader. Then we're going to swing 8,000 with our Bon Clay into their life. They take that, and then we can go Luffytaro into Sangoro again. This is great for us, folks. We need to go wide in this matchup. They're going to have the pop Shanks on 10 Don. We knew they searched it. They're going to get rid of our Luffytaro. 2,000 into the Bon Clay. We're going to let the Bon Clay go. They try to clear the Sangoro this turn. Maybe I use the Thunder Bagua to keep it alive. They have the Hongo though, so if they rest this other Hongo, they'll probably be able to get rid of our Sangoro, which is a bummer. At least we do have 1 more, but we definitely need to find some more characters to play out. They decide not to swing into the Sangoro and leave their Rayleigh and Hongo both as active. I feel like this is a huge mistake, folks. My only thought process is that maybe they wanted to keep the Rayleigh and Hongo up to potentially deal with any characters next turn. Or maybe they thought I had 2 Gum Gum Giants and I was going to be able to protect the Sangoro. Either way, I think that was a big mistake, and I debate even leaving this game in, but the reason I'm going to leave it in is because I did see the Luffytaro Sangoro combo multiple times just to prove that it's a pretty good combo, and then also the ending to this game does get a little bit crazy, so I'll leave it in, but please don't shame me, folks. I definitely recognize that that was a questionable play. We're going to do a couple draws with Sangoro. Unfortunately, I don't have a body to play off the 9-cost Sanji. I mean, I could have played the 5-cost Nami off of him, but I don't love that idea. There's definitely more value to be had. I'm thinking maybe we just Gum Gum Red Rock the 10-cost Shanks away this turn. I'm going to swing 6,000 with our leader into their life. They'll take that going down to 2. Then we're going to Red Rock the 10-cost Shanks and pass it back to them. 4 Don left up is kind of crazy, but I do have 2 Thunder Baguas in my hand, which I could use to potentially protect my board or my leader. They are going to have another Rayleigh, which is going to deal with one of our Sangoros. They gave minus 2,000 to another Sangoro. Here, I will Thunder Bagua to keep the Sangoro alive, but I don't think I really have enough to protect it from a Rayleigh swing. If they decide to use the Hongo, They should have already used the Hongo by now. At least on this turn, they would have been able to have a much easier chance of removing the Sangoro. So I'm going to let the Sangoro go, not even bother using a counter event. I will counter out of their Rayleigh swing using leader ability. Man, this is a tough leader ability this turn. We can take a Gum Gum Giant or Sangoro. Both are great choices, but unfortunately I don't see anything amazing to play off the Rayleigh. I guess off the Sanji. I guess maybe the Bon Clay isn't too bad as long as they don't have any removal. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to set up the Bon Clay. I accidentally, folks, set the Bon Clay to draw and not to play off my Usohachi. This is a terrible mistake. I'm going to swing 6,000 with my leader and then play down the Sanji, even though this is so unideal. We're going to play out the Usohachi, which is pretty crazy. We're going to rest the Hongo, and in hindsight, I would have used Usohachi to rest the Hongo and swing into it perhaps. They're going to counter out of my leader swing. This is unideal. At least we established the 9-cost Sanji. They're going to have the 9-cost Shanks from starter deck 23 power up their leader. Then they're also able to play out the 4-cost Shanks blocker, swing 7,000 at our life. This is a really strong turn for them, folks. They're going to swing 7,000. I have to debate on whether or not I want to use a counter event because I don't have any 2Ks in my hand. This is brutal. I will use a Gear 3 event just because I have a lot of counter events in my hand, but that definitely feels bad. Then they're going to have 2 Rayleigh swings if they do decide to swing with them, which of course I believe they should. They're going to swing 8,000 with the first Rayleigh, 8,000 with the second. I'm going to counter out of the second. We did top deck an Usohachi out of our life. Now we can use leader ability again. Nothing amazing here. I think I'm going to go with the Zoro Joro so that I can do a search. I could also take the 3-cost Zoro Joro, which does have counter at least. We do top deck the 9-cost Sanji. Should I be crazy and blind play the 9-cost Sanji? Depending on what I get, that could really change or finish the game. But alas, it'll also only leave me with 1 Don up. I like the fact that Zoro Joro lets me have a lot of Don up this turn for all my different counter events. We are going to go with the Zoro Joro route. We draw the Sanji 2K counter off of it, which is great. I'm thinking here maybe we just go for their life because going for their board, they've just got too much going on, 2 strong characters on the board. That Shanks blocker will let them basically have another leader ability. I'm going to give 3 down to my leader, swing 9,000 into their life. That's what we're going to do here. 2 9,000 power swings, 1 with our leader and then 1 with the Sanji character. Not an ideal play, folks, not an ideal turn. We're going to use the they're going to use leader ability and the 4-cost Shanks ability to get out of that leader swing. They only have 1 card in hand though. I'm debating here whether or not to swing into a Silver's Rayleigh or their life. I'm going to go into the Rayleigh hoping they don't have a 2K counter. They don't. They're going to let it go. They also could have blocked with Shanks. So that's what I would have assumed they'd do, but they're not. They're going to leave that blocker there. They're going to play down the 12-cost or 10-cost 12,000 power Shanks from OP09. The rush one, they're going to bring down my Sanji 9-cost to 6,000 using Hongo's ability as well. I'm going to counter out to keep this Sanji alive. I have to. Unfortunately, I do realize that I'm actually going to be a little bit short. So that was a little bit foolish of me, but at least they didn't get to my life at all that turn. So that's the bright side of this. They pass it back to us. We use leader ability to take the Gum Gum Giant. Now, this is probably questionable. I decided to draw the Usohachi, but the rest of my cards on the top of my deck are bricks. And so off the Gum Gum Giant, we won't be drawing any counter, which is definitely unideal, folks. Maybe I should have put the rest of the cards at the bottom of my deck so that I could have gotten a fresh new set. But it is what it is. We've got the guaranteed Usohachi. We're going to play down the 8-cost Luffy secret rare from OP10 or OP11. We're going to return the Shanks blocker back to their hand and kind of push for game a little bit here, even though I don't expect for us to actually get game. We just don't, it doesn't really make sense to go for their board at all. They are going to take that first 7,000 power swing. We gave it down to our Zoro Joro to swing 5,000 into their life. They are going to counter out of that. Now we're going to swing 6,000 with our leader into their life. Just put them at 0 and hopefully we can survive a turn and then go for lethal. They hit us with the GG. I wonder if they are thinking that we are going to lose this next turn and they are going to win. We'll see about that. We do have a couple of counters in our hand, but not really a lot. They've got some menacing bodies on the board. Honestly, this was a pretty sloppy game by both of us, if I say so myself. 10 down for them to work with here. They're going to start out with an 8,000 power swing from Rayleigh. We are going to use the Gear 2 to counter out of that. Now we're going to use Gum Gum Giant to counter out of this 10,000 power swing. We get to 10k, but we have to give them the Usohachi 2k. We drew bricks off of Gum Gum Giant, of course. Then they're going to clear our 8-cost Luffy, which, man, if only that could have stayed on the board. Then they're going to play down the 4-cost Shanks. I had to counter to keep my life safe, though, folks. It was too risky to take those first 2 swings. They're going to play down the 4-cost Shanks, 6 down for them still to work with. They're just going to load up on their leader, swing 9,000 into our Zorojoro. We've got to let that go. Here, we've got to go for game. There's no way we're going to stay alive again. They've got that blocker, though. They've got 2 down up, potentially for counter events. That, of course, with their Shanks character and their Shanks leader, they're able to give us a combined minus 3,000 to one of our characters. I don't feel like giving down to Usohachi is the right move. I'm going to play down an Usohachi, though, that we got off of leader ability. This could win us the game, folks. That was crazy. If this goes through, they're going to trash a card using their 4-cost Shanks ability. They're going to give us minus 1,000 using their leader ability, and that's going to be game GG. I wonder, when they said it originally, they just assumed they were going to win, so this was a little bit of a surprise. On to the next one, though. I want to play a little bit better than I did that game. We are going to be playing Green Uta. If you haven't checked it out, I did a Green Uta video recently. I think it's one of my best ones recently, so definitely check that one out. We are going to be going first. We have that 7-cost Luffy and a 5-cost Luffytaro on turn 3. Turn 1, we are going to have the Gear 2 ramp, which is good news. We're going to start by swinging 6,000 into their life, which they will take. We will use Gear 2 to ramp it down, then we will pass it back to them. 4 Don for them to work with. This matchup can definitely be awkward for them because they're going to have to invest Don to swing into us. They're going to go with the 4-cost Brook into 3-cost Uta to start it off and then pass it back to us. They can't swing into us. We're going to swing 7,000 with our leader into them. And then I'm actually going to play down the Sangoro by itself just to get it out a turn early. Might as well, folks. 6 Don for them to work with here. They're going to need to pressure our life a little bit, and I also think they need to do some card draw. They took the first 2 lives, so they're already down to 3, which isn't ideal for them, I'd say. They're going to have the Brook and the Nami combo, draw an Uta from starter deck 16 off of Nami, swing 6,000, which we will take from our leader, and then they also get to draw a card using leader ability. We're going to start off by swinging 6,000 with our Sangoro. We're able to draw a card and get the 4-cost Zorojoro. Here, I'm thinking we swing 7,000 with our leader too, and then we can go 7-cost Luffytaro into Zorojoro. We also can Gravity Blade Raging Tiger, get the Nami and their Brook, one of their Brooks off the field. This will relieve a lot of pressure from us. I also don't think establishing the Luffytaro would have been a bad idea either. We don't have a ton of counter in our hand though, so if they invested Don to swing a lot into our life, then that would have been bad news for us. They are going to have the backlight to pop our Sangoro. That's a bummer. We've got 3 9-cost Sanjis in our hand. Hopefully we can find something to play off of it next turn. They're going to swing 7,000 with their leader. We will 2k counter out of that. Then they're going to play the 3-cost Katakuri from starter deck 16, swing 6,000 into our life with Brook, and we will counter out of that as well. Passing it back to us. This is actually the perfect hand that we're looking for, folks. The perfect stack. We're going to be able to go 9-cost Sanji into 7-cost Luffytaro into 4-cost Zorojoro. That is absolutely epic. Yeah, this is amazing for us, folks. We're going to put the God Thread at the top, I guess, or another Luffytaro at the top, but that was just to be safe and make sure I didn't misclick again, because of course I did misclick when I was making the stack for the last game when I did Usohachi instead of Bon Clay. We're going to play the 9-cost Sanji, then Luffytaro, then the 4-cost Zorojoro. Zorojoro lets us do a search. We find the 3-cost Usohachi, which is great news for us, and then we'll pass it back to them. We might use a Gum Gum Giant this turn if we need it. This next turn, we're going to be able to apply so much pressure to them. We don't have any rested bodies, so if they have the 9-cost Shanks in their hand, they're not going to be able to get value from it. They're going to start off 6,000 into our life. While I would like to keep this Usohachi in our hand to rest their 3-cost Uta blocker, I think we have to counter out of that swing. I do not want to give them a Gum Gum Giant for a 6,000 power swing. They're going to have the 8 cost Eustace Captain Kidd, rest it, then play out a Gordon blocker. We're going to take the Katakuri swing for 6,000 into our life. We get another counterless card. That is a bummer. Here, we're going to take the 6 cost Gum Gum Red Rock off of leader ability, which is absolutely perfect. We're going to be able to get this Eustace Captain Kidd off the board, then pressure their life. Then we're going to take some counter, put the Usohachi at the top. That's the best play in my opinion. And then off of our Gum Gum Giant, which we'll probably use eventually this next turn, then we're going to be able to draw into more counter, which is great news for us. We'll use Red Rock to get rid of the Eustace Captain Kidd. Now we can swing into life. We'll do a 6,000 power Zoro Joro swing, which they will take. I feel like they should have countered out of that if they have the ability to. Now we're going to swing 6,000 with our leader into their leader. They do have 2 1Ks, so maybe they're just bricked and they don't have any 2Ks, folks. That is bad news for them if that is the case. They will counter out of the leader swing. We're going to swing 8,000 now with Luffytaro. They will take that as well. They've got 2 blockers on the board, which they may want to use, because if they don't, I might be able to rest them using Usohachi. Now we're going to swing 9,000 with the Sanji. They will use the Gordon blocker there, and then I will pass it to them. Only 1 life and not a ton of counter in hand, so I'm definitely worried about them having I'm Invincible. Seems like that might be the move for them this turn. They're going to start off with a 9,000 power leader swing. I think I should immediately Gum Gum Giant out of this. We're going to use Gum Gum Giant, return to Don. It'll get us up to 10,000 out of this attack. They still could have 2 more swings though, and maybe 3, I guess, with the 3 cost Katakuri as well. They're going to swing 9,000 again. We can counter out of this, but I think it makes sense to maybe take this and see what we can get from the top of our life. Hopefully counter. Moment of truth, folks. Ideally, we get a Thunder Bagua. That would be crazy. Another Gum Gum Giant would be crazy. Alas, we get another counterless card. This is bad news, but at least we will be able to counter out of these final swings. That was definitely a close call for us. Now they're going to be able to swing 9,000 with their leader. We can 2K out of that, and then we're just going to win here. They concede. GG's. They could have really blockered up with the 7 cost Luffy into the Uta blocker, and then of course they had another Uta blocker on the field. Maybe that was a better idea, because then they would have been able to survive at least another turn. I don't know, folks. I definitely don't think they were crazy for pushing for game here, but I think I would have been a little bit more conservative there. And then also prioritize drawing cards off leader ability that game. Now we've got a game against Green Yellow Yamato. This will definitely be a tough one. Their ability to double attack and then also banish and then rest Don cards with Hody Jones is just a disaster for us. They're going to start off with a Yamato Search, then also play out the 1 cost Momonosuke Searcher. They can't use Momonosuke this turn, so I won't be able to get rid of it. They're going to pass it back to us, 3 down for us to work with. We're just going to play out the Zoro Joro. We'll start with a 6,000 power leader swing into their life. They will take that, no trigger luckily, and then we will play out the 3 cost Zoro Joro. Hopefully that can stay on the board so that we can use his ability to ramp next turn. We will see though. Yamato does have ways to... Well, there we go, folks. They play out the Ashura Doji to pop the Zoro Joro. That's a real bummer for us. Now they're going to swing 6,000 into our life. In hindsight, I should have countered out of this, but my reasoning at the time was I'm already at 3 life, which means all of their triggers are active. So what's the big deal if I take that hit and then just get a bunch of cards in hand, is the way I was looking at it. We did get the God Thread trigger, which allows us to ramp 1. Then they're going to swing with their Yamato. But in hindsight, I think I should have just given them the Bond Clay as a 1K counter. 6 Don for us to work with here. I might as well play down the 5 cost Nami. We'll first clear the Yamato Searcher, 6,000 and a 0. Of course, they're going to let that go. Now we're going to play down the Nami blocker, get to do some card draw. Unfortunately, we don't really draw a lot of counter. We draw a 9 cost Sanji and another 5 cost Nami. We're looking for some more 2Ks, folks. I'm going to put 2 Sanjis at the top of my deck, but ideally I think it would have made more sense to put them at the bottom. I've got 1 Sanji in my hand, and depending on the way this game goes, I might not be able to play out Sanjis multiple times. They're going to be at 6 Don here. They haven't searched with their Momonosuke yet, which is interesting. For 4 Don, they're going to play out the Kikunojo, which if I try to KO it, will heal them a life. Then they're going to search with the Momonosuke. They draw the Izo 2k counter, and then they're going to swing 6,000 at us, which I will certainly 1k counter out of. We'll give them the Bond Clay. Then they'll pass it to us. We can't use leader ability yet. 8 Don for us here. I'm thinking maybe we go Zoro, Joro, Bond Clay. I could set up another blocker Nami, but I think just doing another search to look for counter and then also ramping a Don with Bond Clay is not a terrible idea. I do have to be careful about triggers if I swing into their life, so instead I'm just going to swing into the Momonosuke Searcher, get that off the board, prevent them from getting card advantage every single turn with it. 8 Don for them to work with here. They're going to start off their turn by just swinging real big with their Kikunojo. 9,000 into us. We can counter out of this. Or block with our Nami blocker. We'll block with the Nami. Would it have been a terrible idea to go down to 0? Probably, because then if they have a Hody Jones, they'll be able to rest whatever Don we put up for a potential counter event. Off of our leader ability, we don't see any great characters to play off the 9-cost Sanji. Taking the Usohachi is definitely the move here. I think I mess up my stack with my leader ability. I'm going to play out the 9-cost Sanji into Zoro Joro, which is definitely unideal. I'm not going to swing because I don't want them to get the Kikunojo trigger and go for game next turn. I think what I should have done potentially is play out the 5-cost Nami blocker or the Sangoro, and then left Don up and drew the Thunder Bagua off leader ability. That's a great counter card to have. Leave plenty of counter or plenty of Don up to prevent them resting it with the Hody Jones. They are going to play the Hody Jones this turn. Rest our Sangoro as well. They might try to pop the Sangoro just so we can't swing all in next turn. This is bad news for us, folks, though. I think we're going to lose this game. We'll see. They just got too much pressure on us. They're going to swing 6,000 with Momonosuke, which we will 1k counter out of using our Sangoro. 3 Don still up for them. They could throw more Don on their leader, or they're going to play down the Izo, which gives their leader Banish. 6,000 into us with Banish. I have to really consider which counter I want to give them. I'm debating on whether or not to give them the 2k counter with Usohachi or the 1k counter with Nami. Of course, we only have to give them 1k, but the Nami is a blocker, which makes me hesitant to give her up. I will do that though, just because I want to keep the 2ks in my hand. I feel like I need to maximize their value. We've got 4 2ks, which is good news for us. They're going to swing a big 10k though with the Hody Jones, and this we are going to take. We get the Gravity Blade Raging Tiger, which is really solid for us. This might really help us. We're going to be able to use its trigger to bottom deck the Momonosuke. That's definitely the move here, folks. Then we're going to use leader ability. They pass it back to us. I'm thinking we take the Gum Gum Giant. We could leave this at the top for our Luffytaro Sangoro play, but I don't think that's the move here. The 9-cost Sanji into Luffytaro into Sangoro doesn't really do a lot for us. We need to establish, I'm thinking either the 8-cost Luffy or the 6-cost Sanji blocker. I really need to clear their Hody Jones this turn. If I want to stay alive, I think we have to just pressure life a little bit though, and if we can get them down to maybe 1 or 2 life, set us up for lethal next turn, perhaps that will be the move. We're going to start off with 6,000. We're definitely risking them getting a big trigger here, which would be terrible. 8,000 now with our Bond Clay copying the Hody Jones. They do get another Kikunojo trigger. They had 2 Kikunojos and they took 1 with Hody Jones. Turns out they had another. That is bad news for us. Now we're going to swing 6,000 with our leader. They'll 2 1k counter out of that. We're going to swing 9,000 into the Hody Jones, hoping that it has to go. Maybe they don't have a lot of counter in hand. They'll let it go. There is a chance we survive. Now I'm going to play down the 8-cost Luffy Secret Rare from OP11. We're going to be able to bounce their Kikunojo back to their hand. We will do that, swing 8,000 at their life. Hopefully there's not another trigger. Hopefully they can't counter out of this. We're going to swing 8,000 with Luffy. They will take that, no trigger. I'm debating on whether or not to swing with the Zoro Joro 5,000. If they get a trigger like Kikunojo, which I wouldn't put it past them, then I think I just lose. So I am not going to swing with the Zoro Joro. We'll see here. We have 2 Don up. We have a Gum Gum Giant and a bunch of 2k counters. As long as they don't have the they've got the Hody, folks. This will be the end for us. They're going to swing 8,000 into our life, which we can 2k out of. Then they're going to be able to swing 10,000 with the Hody Jones using leader ability, which we won't be able to get out of. They made a misclick though and gave the 2 rested Don to their Izo. and not their Hody Jones. So we are able to get out of this, but this was an honest mistake, not a misplay or anything. I can't feel good about this victory, folks. I've got to give it to them. This one has to go on my record as a loss because, of course, they misclicked there. I double checked, and yes, that is the case. GG's though, that was a tough one. If we could have gotten out of that Hody swing, we would have won, but would have, should have, could have, would have, whatever. GG's though, I thought maybe they meant to give it to the Izo because it turns it into a blocker, but I don't know. GG's, I won, but not really, they won. They won the moral battle.
Ladies and gentlemen, and with that, those are the games I got for you today. What did you think about them? Honestly, Blue Purple Luffy, not necessarily my leader of choice. This deck list, not necessarily the best I've ever crafted. So I definitely feel like this video wasn't my best gameplay ever. You live and you learn though. Next time, maybe I'll do better. Maybe I won't. Maybe I'll just go downhill from here. Alright, I'm joking, folks. Don't unsubscribe. I swear there'll be better deck lists coming in the future. If you like the content, consider hitting that like button. If you want to subscribe, hit that subscribe button. It's as simple as that. With that being said, folks, I hope you have an amazing rest of your day. This has been a Johnny TCG video. Peace. But seriously, though, subscribe.